Hello, I'm Raul Bally, politics reporter with WABE. Welcome to the Atlanta Press Club Loudermilk Young Debate Series from the studios of Georgia Public Broadcasting. This is the primary debate for the Republicans running for the Congressional District 2. Let's meet the candidates. They are, in alphabetical order, Chuck Hand, a construction superintendent and vice chair of Taylor County's Republican Party. Wayne Johnson was a senior official in the Trump administration and worked in finance for 30 years. Regina Liparato is a media consultant and event coordinator, along with being a voiceover artist. And Michael Nixon served in the Air Force. Michael Nixon served in the Air Force and Navy for more than 10 years and is a director of a rural hospital.
Mr. Johnson, you've said the Department of Education is an example of a federal agency that you see as being unnecessary. Why the Department of Education, and what role do you think the federal government should play in public education?
Well, that's a great question for me to take a stab at. Not take a stab at, actually take a stance on. I was the number 3 person at the United States Department of Education. I was appointed by Secretary DeVos, confirmed by President Trump. And I saw firsthand just the wastefulness that would go on and the manner in which the Department of Education would go about putting out block grants. Also, as we well know, the Department of Education runs the federal student loan system, and we've got $110 billion worth of money that's going out, 85% of which will never be repaid. So to answer your question, there's just a tremendous amount of wastefulness. And then also we get into the issue that they're trying to dictate policy that in the way in which our children should be educated. Our children need to be, how they're educated needs to be decided on by parents at the local level and with support from the federal government from financial resources when necessary.
Our next question will be from Wayne Johnson to the opponent of your choice. Mr. Johnson.
Yes, my question is for Mr. Nixon, and I do want to thank each of the other candidates for being part of this process, and I definitely want to thank, the Loudermilk Young Series and the very capable reporters for being here, and yourself as well. Mr. Nixon, in terms of financial resources and organizational structure, what do you think it will be required to win over in November against Sanford Bishop? And then also, how do you intend to marshal these resources?
Absolutely, and that is a fantastic question, Wayne. I know that you've brought up several times that you have the financial resources to win over Bishop. However, this is the first presidential election that we have since the district has been redistricted. And so we've got Thomas County, we've got Warner Robins, and we've got Robins Air Force Base. I believe that, yes, we need finances to help overthrow Bishop, but that is not the only thing that we need to make a win and a victory for District 2. I'm going to join and every county's GOP. We're going to door knock. We're going to bring grassroots back to District 2, and we're going to knock on the doors. We're going to bring in fence riders, independents, and Democrats to vote against Sanford Bishop because he has to live with everything that the Biden agenda has pushed down our throats in District 2. So we're going to unify District 2 on both sides of the House because both sides of the House want and need change. And so, yes, it does take a little finances, but that is not all it takes. It takes hard work, it takes effort, it takes grassroots door knocking, and my campaign is making it happen, and we will make it happen, and we're going to dethrone Sanford Bishop, and I'm going to be responsible for making him retire.
Mr. Johnson, 30 seconds if you would like.
Well, first of all, I do believe that was a great answer to the question. And whichever of us winds up being the nominee to go up against Sanford Bishop, we're going to have to tap into all those resources as well. Chris West, a nod to him. He did a great job last time, taking on Sanford, but he fell short because he didn't have the financial resources to get across the goal line. Make no mistake about it, it will take between $3 and $5 million to take out Sanford. We're standing here today not as people trying to win the primary and then by virtue be your nominee. We've got to basically prevail against Sanford.
Congress recently approved a spending package that included foreign aid. Would you have voted for that spending package, and why or why not? And we can start with Mr. Johnson.
I would not have voted for that package as it was presented. I believe that the elements of foreign aid included in that package should have been broken down into, which particular problem we were trying to solve. Instead, it was packaged as a bundle, and consequently, some things got put in there that never should have been put in there.
Starting with Mr. Johnson, is there a role for foreign aid from the United States, yes or no, or what is that role?
Well, yes, there is a role for foreign aid. Foreign aid is a form of international diplomacy. You know, I spent a lot of time in South America, and I know that if we do not provide elements of aid to South America, China will. And so consequently, we're in a little bit of an international race to see who can win the most favor, but we got to put limits on, you know, just what's the price tag for that favor. A rebuttal, is it appropriate?
I don't think he brought up your name.
Well, he inferred something about economic status.
Okay, I'll grant it for 30 seconds. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. All of us on this stage do not come from points of privilege. Everybody on this stage comes from what it means to earn your dollar and earn your living. I, for one, grew up in a household I didn't know I was poor because my mother made sure that we had what we need. But, you know, I'm one of the few people that has actually eaten tadpole soup, and I'm one of the few people that has been able to be successful as well. So it doesn't take that you're currently working in construction or, you know, working as a mechanic to be able to identify, particularly when you come from those points. Well, I think it basically boils down to the fact that each of us can identify with the people of the district. There was a question that was asked earlier about the role of federal government with regard to social support programs. One of the things that I think is incredibly important is for us to understand how to make agencies of the government come to work for the people of the 2nd District. She referred to Mr. Johnson. You can actually do both. You can run a very intensive campaign using all the communication channels available at the same time. I believe I'm the only candidate that's actually visited all 30 counties and spent time listening to the people. So there's nothing to say that you can't do both.
Round of questions with Mr. Johnson. Your thoughts on?
Well, at this point in time, President Trump is standing with Mike Johnson. So my answer to that is it's a wait and see. I also want to hear from the people of the 2nd District. I also want to hear from the other members of the Georgia congressional delegation. There's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes. I do have faith and trust in President Trump, and if he's standing with him right now, I believe that's going to be my answer.
You're watching the candidates, the Republican candidates for 2nd Congressional District. They're debating right now. Early voting begins tomorrow. As we continue asking questions, this question comes from Sophie Gratis to the candidate of your choice.
This is going to be for all of the candidates. What is your plan to sprout economic growth in Southwest Georgia? And we can start with
Mr. Johnson?
Well, yes. First of all, you start by making sure that people have the right kind of educational or skills training, and it's not a 4-year degree, it's work skills. One of the biggest needs in the 2nd District, believe it or not, right now is for truck drivers. In order to have truck drivers, we need to have truck driving schools. We need healthcare workers. We need healthcare skills training. I actually myself am investing in Georgetown with a new facility there that will actually support the water sports by the way, it's called Lake George in Georgetown, not Lake Eufaula. And I'm also active in Plains, Georgia, launching a business to build tiny homes to solve 2 problems, give people jobs and also give people a place to live. So the net of it boils down to starting at grassroots level with folks like myself and others that are willing to make a capital investment in the district. And then we got to make sure that the schools are giving job skills training. And then we got to make sure that capital investment is being attracted to the district.
This is for Mr. Johnson. You've said you're pro-life, but I'm curious if you believe in a federal ban on abortion. And the second part of that is, do you believe in any exceptions to abortion bans having to do with medical emergencies, incest, or rape?
Well, you ask a question that hits very specifically to my heart. I do not believe in a federal ban on abortion. I believe it should be at a state level. And yes, there are conditions in which abortion should be allowed. Our daughter recently, about 2 years ago, had what's called an atopical pregnancy, which meant that she was pregnant in her fallopian tube. She lived in Louisiana. She lives in Louisiana. The doctors were so afraid of being put in jail that they did not operate on her until her fallopian tube burst and she lost her fallopian tube. So yes, there are medical conditions that absolutely have to be taken into consideration. and we've got to be mature enough to understand that as a people.
We heard from Mr. Hand earlier about if he were to win, how to unite the closely divided, politically divided district that still leans slightly Democratic. And so if you were elected, how would you bring the community together? And we can start this. I was curious what everyone else had to think, and start with Mr. Johnson.
Yes. First of all, we've got to explain to the Democratic voters why voting Republican is not necessarily a bad thing and can actually be a very good thing. In order to win this election, make no mistake about it, we've got to carry 50,000 people that normally vote Democrat to come across to the Republican side. And those people will be making a decision who to vote for president, which I believe will be President Trump. They'll also be making a decision for congressman, which I hope and expect to be me. But at the end of the day, we got to give them a reason. We got to help them understand that we're absolutely 100% focused on them. And it's not just about the party change, it's also about who is the individual that's going to be representing them.
Final statement now from Wayne Johnson for 1 minute.
Trying to find the camera, there it is. Well, the most important question is, what do you have to gain by selecting the right person to be your Republican nominee, the person that has the experience, that has the passion and the commitment. It's all about what we can gain, not what we have to avoid losing. So again, I'm Dr. Wayne Johnson. I'm from Macon, Georgia. I'm looking to be your representative to represent you, everybody from Macon to Thomasville to Bainbridge to Columbus, Americus, Cuthbert, all places in between. So to sum it up, I'm a public servant, or I have been a public servant. I was appointed by President Trump to serve in his administration. Before that, I was a jobs creator. You ask about the district. I've created a number of jobs in the district and around the world. Before that, I was a U.S. Army officer. But the most important thing I can say is I humbly and respectfully ask for you to trust me with your vote and let me be your representative.
Thank you so much to all of the candidates, and that concludes our program. We'd like to remind voters that early voting begins Monday, April the 29th, and Election Day is Tuesday, May 21st. Again, thanks to our candidates and to our panel of journalists, Laura Corley, Sophie Gratis, and Maya Prabhu. We'd also like to thank the Atlanta Press Club and Georgia Public Broadcasting for arranging today's program. For more information about the Atlanta Press Club debates, visit atlantapressclub.org. I'm Raul Bally of WABE News. Thank you so much for joining us for the Atlanta Press Club Loudermilk Young Debate Series.